Today's video is all going to be about the backswing. So this is part of a series on killer moves. I'm going to be sharing with you in each video 2 killer moves that I see. This part is all about the backswing. So I'm going to be sharing with you, I guess, the 2 most common faults I see made in the backswing, what effects that would have in the downswing, and I'm going to share with you a couple of great drills if you do suffer with either of these 2 movements in your backswing to stop it for good. Make sure you stay tuned. Welcome back to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today at Branston Golf and Country Club. Today's video, as I mentioned, is part of a series that I'm filming called Killer Moves. And this first part here is all going to be about the backswing. So I'm going to be sharing with you in each video 2 killer moves I see commonly made, and this part obviously focusing on the backswing. This will be relevant with any golf club, but I'm going to be using and picking on a driver for this video, particular one. But this would be relevant whether we're talking about an iron as well, a hybrid, it doesn't matter. The movement and the faults that I see and the effect it has would have the same effect whether we're talking about an iron or a wood. So I'm going to chuck a ball on a tee here and talk about the first fault, first killer move I see commonly made in the backswing. The golfers I see regularly, day in, day out, up and down the range and coming to me for lessons. So one of the first killer moves I see is made in this first movement. We call it the takeaway movement, this first movement of the golf swing, almost to the first parallel position. So what I tend to see here is the club being dragged inside and definitely the club face opening. And that is a real killer move. There's a lot of golfers throughout the whole golf swing have got an open club face, and that requires closing and a lot of manipulation with hands and arms. They tend to underuse body, overuse hands to try and square it, but to try and time that is really tough. And the first part, it tends to go wrong from this very first movement in the takeaway position where the club is dragged in and open. So we want that club face in this first position, in my opinion, more matching your spine angle. That is the leading edge of the golf club here, more matching spine angle. So that's the club face I'm looking for, and I'd like to keep the club in that takeaway move either parallel to my feet line or the club head just slightly outside my hands. What I see commonly done is that club dragged inside and that club face fanning open. So that club face rotating too much this way. Now, how does it rotate? It tends to be an over rotation of forearms or wrist hinge here, pulling that club inside and getting that club face open. Remember, everything we do in the backswing, we've got to undo in the downswing. So we can generate some power from this movement, but I'm having to manipulate a lot with hands and arms, and to try and square that club face at impact is very, very tough, if not impossible. So the more I get that club face in and open, the more I've got to close it, manipulate really with a lot of hand action through impact. So in that first movement away from the golf ball, I quite often refer to this as dead hands. I like to see it being controlled with the bigger muscles rather than the hands, very connected, quite often referred to perhaps as a one-piece takeaway, but for me it's controlled with the big muscles here. My left arm is just along for the journey, it's stayed connected across my chest, and my hands really are very passive, meaning that club face is in a great shape here in that first takeaway move. Now, I would get golfers who struggle with this to rehearse that takeaway movement before you swing, almost a Ricky Fowler style movement. And one of the best exercises, and there are a number, and I have done a video on exercises that you can do to improve your takeaway, and I will put a link here, worth checking out if it's something you struggle with. I won't go into all of them, but perhaps one of the best is just using a tour stick, a cane up the side of the golf club. And that cane should stay in contact with your left side in that first movement. If my club comes in and open, you can see the cane is pointing way out to the right of the target for me as a right-handed golfer. So I'm looking for more connection in that first movement. This is potentially one of those best exercises. And if it's something you struggle with, I'd perhaps get you, when you're ready to play, just to slowly rehearse that movement and check once or twice pre-swing. Okay, so try not to watch the club go back, and what we're trying to feel is very passive hands, very dead hands, that we're not getting that club in and open. So on to the second killer move. in the backswing position, and it tends to be the length of the swing and the left wrist position that causes. So I get a lot of golfers, and sometimes it's coming about from this first movement as well, but we're just going to jump into my second killer move. So it would be the swing getting long and cross-lined. So cross-lined just meaning that club's pointing more to the right of the target, and anyone who swings too far will tend to get that position, and we see a lead wrist more, and we tend to refer to it as a cupped position here with this angle in. The official term would be that left wrist in extension, and we want it flat, or even I'd prefer some flexion in that left wrist this way, not here. So it's a real killer move. Golfers who get long cross-lined, this cut left wrist, lead wrist at the top of the backswing, will either throw the club out to in on the downswing, or their arms will go out and the club will drop behind them. We'll get that club face open again. What does an open club need? A lot of closing through impact. So my best exercises, well, do you know what? I'd use one of these canes again. So first movement, cane in contact with my lead hip. Second move, that cane is pointing in front of me, not behind me. If I lose sight of it and that cane starts pointing behind me, I know I'm getting long and cross lines. So it's a great drill for it. The other exercise I would do is just simply using some sort of splint for the left wrist, the lead wrist. I'm just going to use a pencil because I had nothing better in my golf bag. But some kind of splint that you can put down the back of your watch strap or your glove that I'm going to tuck this into here. So I'm going to just pop it, making a splint down my left wrist, my lead wrist here. And what I'm looking for at the top of the backswing, remember, is a flat lead wrist. If I get this wrist going this way and the swing getting long, I get the pencil digging into my hand. I wouldn't use anything too sharp. I don't want you to bleed when doing this exercise. I'm just trying to get you to get that flat lead wrist at the top of the backswing. So my first killer move was this takeaway. The second killer move was this long cross-line position that we tend to see at the top of the backswing here. So if we can just simply use some sort of splint exercise or the cane, you can see I'm in a much better position at the top of my backswing to help me deliver the golf club on the right swing path and with the right club face position. I'm going to go ahead and hit one. I'm not going to have either of those two exercises. I'm just going to rehearse that takeaway move. So if you struggle with that first killer move, this is a great rehearsal for you. Or you might in the practice swing, if you struggle with the second part, just try and imagine that that grip end is pointing somewhere down in front of you rather than getting long and cross-lined. Let me see if I can put those two bits together. As I said, it might be something you only struggle with one of them, not the two. So you just work on that one area. Well, if I could hit it like that, I'll take it every time, straight down the middle. So if you can work on those two areas, if you need to, it might just, as I said, be the one area that you need to focus on. But those are my top two killer moves made in the backswing by amateur golfers that really are very destructive what happens then on the downswing. Remember, anything that needs or anything that is done in the backswing is undoing in the downswing, and it just becomes a timing issue. It's not that you can't do it, but can you repeat it consistently? I hope that video has helped. Make sure you check out the rest of the series as well about the downswing and impact. And if you did enjoy it, make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for all the other videos every Tuesday and Thursday, as well as some Saturday specials. Cheers guys, we'll see you soon.